No,
there was a
Dominic,
meeting. Didn't know there was a
I
meeting.
was glad you could come. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Call the Wareham Finance Committee to order. It is Wednesday, June 29th, 6:54 start time. How was that, Bob?
6:55.
Okay, for accuracy. We have a roll call, please, from the clerk.
My far right, Jody Smith. Vice Chair, David Hurd. Chairman, Bernie Pigeon. My left, Dom Camarano. Myself, Jerry Stefanski. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Before we start everything, this evening is David's last meeting with us.
It's been good. I'm going to miss you guys. But I'll come and visit once in a while.
Well, that'll be nice, too. And last night, the selectmen appointed him to CPC to fill a vacancy that occurred. Look forward to seeing you, though.
I'll be on the other side for a while.
Well, you gotta take a year off, Dave, before you can come back. You have to take even on, so if you take a year off, you can come back, yeah.
But he'll actually have money of his own over there in CPC to spend.
That's right.
He'll miss the finance committee.
I know.
David, I want to thank you for everything
Yes.
you've done for the committee, and especially for me, for your support, your counsel, advice. I think I've done this job better because of your assistance in doing that, and you become a very good friend also.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, we have some special guests here this evening, and so we'll go on record. The interested party, because we have some vacancies up on our ranks, is Tom Hannon. How are you, Tom? Welcome.
Good, thank you, thanks for having me.
And we have Julie Moran. And her husband, Paul Moran, is a guest also. And another candidate for one of the vacancies is former selectman Jim Muniz. Well, Jim, welcome everyone this evening. If during the course of the evening you have a question, by all means raise your hand. The purpose of inviting you here is just get an idea of what we do, and for you to find some background, what we may have done in the past. And when we're done with our particular agenda, the questions are open, so you can question us how we handled something in the past, or what we resolved, why we thought we should do one thing or another. And the first thing on our agenda is the transfers. Everybody got a copy of them? I think we passed them out.
Yes.
Okay, these transfers have to be done by close of business tomorrow, so that we can balance all these few accounts. Total is $31,355. And the first transfer is for legal services, transfer from the workman's comp line to legal services, professional services. And let's see, the legal was between a union contract negotiations and the sale of Everett School, and that required extra funds. Any questions? Can I have a motion, please, to transfer $10,000?
Can we do them all at once, Bernie? Or
You want
wanna
to?
do them-
Yeah. Sure.
It'd be easier, yeah.
Okay. And the next one is also from Workman's Comp, transfer of $2,538 to inspectional services. And when the former building inspector left, we used temporary contractors to fill the position, and that was paid out of the expense line, and it has to be transferred up.
And that was $2,538.
Correct. The next line is again transfer from Workman's Comp to Board of Health. And that stems from Mr. Ethier's retirement benefits buyout. There's not too many buyouts and contracts left anymore, but he's in his retirement. And that accounts for a transfer request of $14,761. The next one, again, a transfer from Workman's Comp to the Assessors. And that was a contractual obligation that was missed in the setting of the original budget process.
So it's a salary item?
Yes.
Thank you.
And the last one, again, from Workman's Comp to the Finance Committee for Professional Services. And that was the extra town meeting. The printing went for over 1,500. And those are, the bills have been paid to Staples and all, but there were some expenses that have gone over the budget, and this is replacing those monies. There's also some monies for expense in doing our minutes. We'll review that, but there was only a couple hundred in that regard. And total transfer is $2,569.
Motion to accept budget transfers
Second,
as read.
it's presented.
In the amount of $31,355.
Deal.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
Any further discussion? There being none, is there any discussion from the audience? Any questions you have? There being none, I'll have to ask for a roll call vote, please, on the motion.
Jody,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Bernie,
Yes,
Don,
Yes.
myself, yes, 500.
500. To the audience, I had to ask for a roll call because it's transfer of monies.
While we're discussing transfers, can I bring another subject up? This deals with transfers.
Go ahead.
If anybody recalls, a couple, 3 meetings ago, I asked the school committee for their transfers. They told me they were online. You recall that?
Yes.
They are not online. I asked their past meeting they just had last week, they did a bunch more transfers. They're not in their packet, what they are, all they vote on at their meeting, and you know, there's a $3,000 threshold they gotta go in front of the school committee, and they had a bunch of transfers.
All below 3,000.
No, these are all above.
Oh,
These are all above 3,000. The small ones you don't see.
right.
I am requesting that we see these transfers. More importantly, I'd like to see where they're coming out of. I mean, I know, I understand the workman's comp, and I understand why the money's there. I don't know the schools, and I really appreciate the work that was put into this, that it's coming out of here, and this is going into professional services, legal services. You know, I mean, all this gooby numbers and stuff doesn't mean anything. So I'm, and I had somebody that's a lot more familiar with computers than I am try to find the transfers that they told me were online, and they're not. So I'd like a copy of their transfers, or else I'll go to one of their meetings and,
You want to make a motion for that request?
well,
Finance committee?
it wasn't an agenda item. It's under
Doesn't have to be
transfers.
their agenda item. You're asking for something financial. You can ask for a copy of that. That's,
Okay, so, yeah, I'm moving that, that the finance committee
receives a copy of the
sees
transfer.
copies of transfers from what budget they're coming out of and where they're going.
Do you suspect the school committee had got the detail and they're just passing on the detail that they already received?
Which is very common for them.
So you're just asking for the same detail?
I want the same detail, yeah. And I'm not questioning anything that's,
No, you
Wrong
want to
way
see
thing.
it.
I would just like to see,
We're
you know.
supposed to see it,
I understand why all this money's coming out of workman's comp. Luckily, the town didn't have to use it.
yeah.
Right.
But they have to have the money in there because you just don't know from year to year.
So you made a motion?
Yes, I did make that motion.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion? Now, is there any particular detail of how you want that phrased? You want the transfer, copy of the transfer request that they handle at their meetings?
No, we want them all.
Well, the one's over $3,000. I mean, the ones at their meeting. I mean, I'll amend them. Do you want to see them all?
You know what? If they're gonna print some, what's the difference between printing them all? Why not?
Any
Let
line
us-
item. If
Let
the-
us pick and choose what we think is important.
You see, you want to see the line item transfers,
Yeah.
because they have to be line item specified.
Well, that's like what they have here. This is.
Just like what we
This,
just did.
this is great. And I hate to pat town administrator on the back too much, but I really appreciate this. I'm only speaking for myself. I mean, this is very simple to read, and I understand. I understand legal professional services. I'd just like to see
Get them all, Jody.
if it's all coming out of one particular line in the schools, well, what line is it? Is that overfunded? I mean, I don't know.
That's
In
my
this case, yeah, we,
Even if there's a lot of little ones coming out of the same fund.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why is that fund overfunded?
yeah,
Get them all.
the entire committee should see that, not just an individual.
Okay, yeah, I just,
Need a motion? Been seconded by Dominic. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 500.
thank you.
I'll send you a wording of it when I send it, before I send it over to the school department.
Thank you.
Okay, what else we have? Let's see, any update on any liaison reports? It's closing out, everybody's doing something. David, you've been over with the police committee. Anything going on over there?
Please, we have a architect who's been working on the design and layout of a new police EMS, and also provisioning for space for Wareham Fire, should they decide to join us. We've been looking at two particular areas. We've been looking at the Deacon School property as well as Minot Avenue. There's 20-odd acres on Minot Avenue that had been set aside sort of back in 2006 at the previous police study committee to use for a new police and EMS station. So the TCON, the architects have been looking at it. They've come up with spatial requirements. They've interviewed the police department, EMS, a few other areas around, and have come up with spatial needs. There's also a problem which everybody really knew about but hasn't done anything about, and that is on the Minot Ave property. Back before 2006, there was a phase 1 study done by the archaeological department in the state of Massachusetts. That was a fairly limited study. They actually dug 200 holes and found some 5,000 artifacts. So before you could say that property is not a historic Indian site, which is doubtful. They don't believe it's going to be, but further study would be required. And that has been estimated to cost between $40,000 and $50,000. The police building committee does not have those funds. And it's estimated to take between 12 and 18 months. Now, in order to be a no-build zone, the archaeological study would have to demonstrate or prove that either there was a Indian burial ground, which is a no-build area, or it was a ceremonial site. They doubt that that's the case, but they have found some bones. Most of the artifacts were from cooking fires, quahog shells and things like that. But there were some other artifacts that they came up with. So sometime in the near future, I'm expecting there's going to be a request. It'll probably come before the board for $50,000 to do a archaeological study. Now, even if the police building study does not put a police station there, WPCF is thinking about using part of that property as a discharge site. If they do that, they need to do the study. Or if the town of Wareham in the future comes up and either wants to sell or build something on that site, the architectural study will have to be done. So probably something that should have been done in 2006, but
Oh, the last time they were researching for.
the last time they were looking at it and considering it, but it's probably going to come up in the near future.
I don't think there's anything around in Wareham that you can do without doing that. I mean, the Wampanoags were settling this whole area.
Just absolutely, and especially sites that are close to the water, and that was close to the river, so yes,
So the study's not an option.
study is not an option. Unless we ignore the site and go someplace else.
No, I understand that, but to
Right.
build on it, it's not an option, just so everybody understands that.
That's correct, that's correct. And the committee is also looking at several other sites, including one that they had looked at previously, which is some property near the intersection of I-95 and Cranberry Highway, which is owned by South Coast Hospital. That particular site, the Wareham Fire Department had an agreement with South Coast a few years back to purchase it and build a fire station. The fire department backed out of that contract, and we had approached them, the town had approached South Coast, and they said they weren't interested, so we've come back and asked the town to go approach South Coast again and see if they've changed their mind.
Is the committee still evaluating Degas?
They're still looking at Deacon's, yes, Deacon's is a prime consideration. T-Con has looked at the site and come up with several options for building on that property, including the police station, EMS, space for the fire department. Although the fire department had turned down, the board had turned down building a fire station in the last year, they may change their mind. And also including space for a council on aging building on that site. They found there is sufficient space to do that, and also include space for recreational fields, because it's well-used recreational fields, and they've considered the option of maintaining those and keeping them.
Oh, indeed, I go by that frequently, especially on weekends, and that parking lot is jammed.
Yes.
And they've got baseball and soccer.
Right,
It's enormous acreage over there.
yes. So they've considered that also. So the study's going forward. T-Con Architects has, I've been impressed with the work they've done, and I think they're looking out for the best interest.
Any other questions? Any other liaison group want to step in for what's going on at their group? Police, water and sewer, I should say, water and sewer. We didn't get Jimmy's update yesterday.
You know,
The building committee, the Minnet Building Committee, that would be the new elementary school. There's been some concerns that there is continual charges against the furniture and fixtures account. And the contract, the building account itself, we had arranged for 3 signatures were required to pay the invoices. And that PMA and Mount Vernon have completed their work, their contract ended January 1st. There's been some contracts left over, there's some questions on them, but all that has been resolved through Derek and the accountants, and they've all been have been paid, so that's not an issue. However, the charges against the furniture and fixtures has been going on, and the committee itself has not met. And so I would ask the committee if we could have a motion to inquire of the building committee as to what they are doing in terms of, or what it is doing to monitoring the expenditures. The committee hasn't met, and they've spent monies that certain people have questioned. And I think, from my point of view, it does ask the question, what is happening over there? It's part of the monies that we're borrowing, and it's appropriate from my point of view in some cases, but it may be inappropriate in other cases. And I think it's just a matter of our due diligence to ask the question of the building committee. And it would be Jeff Swift, the chairman.
I'll make that motion.
May I have a second on that? Good, that's to inquire as to the furniture fixtures account since the January 1st.
I'll second it, but I do have a comment also,
Yeah, I get a comment, that's good.
and I believe that the committee has been disbanded.
The committee is a creature of town meeting, because they created it.
Right.
And I haven't seen any documentation that suggests they are disbanded, or they haven't been, obviously.
No,
And I think since the January 1st to the close of the school year, there may be expenses that, unforeseen, et cetera, that's perfectly reasonable. And I'm just asking the question,
we
could you
can-
tell me what they are?
We can, change the motion to say, you know, to get this information from the board or the town administrator, because if the board isn't involved, the town administrator has to be the next step.
Well, it's if you're referring to the board, the school committee?
No,
Building,
the minor building committee.
Building committee,
If
yeah,
that's been disbanded, the only other person that can spend money is Derek.
yes.
So then we'll ask if it has been disbanded and there is no one in charge there anymore, then we need this information from Derek. That's all. Just change the motion to say both.
Or the school.
From either or.
Yeah.
The school.
Yeah.
well, the school department.
Not Derek, so,
Well,
no,
Derek
they
Derek is
can't
the final
spend it.
signator on it in the motion that when the committee was created, and MSBA, chief executive officer, is the principal,
He's got to sign.
and that's him. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to say something, Joe?
yeah, you know, I'm looking at their expenditure ledger here. And I understand what some of them are, you know, Mount Vernon Group, I know who they are. But Gopher Sport, I mean, can we narrow that down a little bit? There's a flag company on here. I mean, what are we buying? And, you know, this is borrowed money.
Anything we're buying, we're paying for 20 years.
So, I mean, if we're buying soccer nets, Gopher Sports, because they're on here a lot. Not a big money item, but I'm saying, what are we buying that we're gonna be paying the next 20 years for? You know, it doesn't make any sense. This should be coming out of the school budget somewhere. Or come next year's budget, but
Operational budget.
operational budget, you know, Norfolk Power Equipment. I mean, they sell outdoor equipment. How much outdoor equipment do they need there? They're on here about 10 times.
And all of that was purchased through the accounts with the contractor. They were supplying all of that equipment. So we have questions, so we know.
That's all I'm saying, that this,
David and I were both on the committee, and
yeah, my only point being, here we go with all these numbers, but there's no explanation next to them.
Indeed, and that's what
And I
we're
think
looking for.
somebody
yeah.
need a little bit more detail. I'll leave it at that, thank you.
My thoughts were, if you're gonna open a new building, and let's say soccer balls as an example, and you need 50 soccer balls that'll be used to open that building. Okay, you buy 50 soccer balls, and the new building has new soccer balls. Okay, but your replacement soccer ball better be on your own expenses.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's a gorgeous school up there. I mean, they did a wonderful job, but I certainly, and I mentioned to you when I took the tour, the first thing that jumped out at me were 3D printers. Why do
Yes.
they have those in an elementary school? I'm not really sure what they're using them for, and I'm sure they'll have a very
You don't,
good reason why they use them.
you don't want my opinion.
Well,
Dominic, I always want your
No,
opinion.
you don't know this one. We'll all go to jail.
well, we all looked at that, we did, had the
Yeah,
same question.
I said, my wife, I said, why do they need 3D printers? I'm missing something here.
We had another question, though, I think, with David and I were talking about it when we went through, is all that technology. And
Very
it's wonderful,
high-tech.
and they're using it too, fantastic. What are they gonna have when they get to the middle school? Their level of technology there?
It's a lot lower right now.
Oh, indeed.
Yeah.
Good
When
high
those
school,
kids were
too.
doing video. Have you people toured the school? Have you had the opportunity when it was open house? Oh, my gosh.
If you get a chance, it's worthwhile. It's really something the town is and should be proud of.
I mean, the outside is kind of satisfy the adults, it looks like a very important building and all, but you go inside and it's for the kids. And everything, the mosaics on the floor, the walls, the equipment, et cetera, it's beautiful. For what we paid for it, because we appropriated 90, and our contracts came in at 80.
Yeah, we were under budget, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
and we got one hell of an interest rate too on our borrowing.
Yeah, some of the design things they did inside are really, something I never thought of, you know, the art rooms, they put like garage doors there, so they can open them up and make them big, open and airy. I mean, what a great idea. I mean, it really was. That's a great idea, but
And what you don't want a child to do is to write on walls. They're walls you can write on. And they have alcoves outside the classrooms where the kids can gather. And they got dry ease markers on the walls and they can do whatever they want. And I don't mean just square, the whole wall. I'd like to see the janitor take care of that. Okay, on the motion. Any other discussion? Do we remember what the motion was?
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I,
Motion's passed. 500. I have the minutes, and I put them all together in batch, sent them off to each of you, and it's your choice if you want to go through and accept them, assuming Kelly has done a very excellent job, as well as there's 3 of them that Jody has done.
So I read them all and they look good.
Could we all take Jerry's word for it then?
Make a motion to accept the minutes.
second.
Accept the minutes on February 9th, March 3rd, March 9th, March 16th, April 13th, April 25th, and June 8th, inclusive of that motion. May I have a second?
Second.
Motion is made and seconded? Yes.
I will abstain from February 9th and April 13th, as I was absent on those 2 dates. But I will vote on the others.
Okay.
Too fat.
You can abstain, or because they're all in, you can vote on all of them, because there's no exceptions. So we can actually vote on them, accept them all,
Even though
because
you weren't there.
those
you
2,
can
if you're
accept
absent, we wouldn't have a quorum for the acceptance of those 2.
All right, with the comment that I was absent on those 2.
Well, the 5 would,
Yes, but I will vote to accept.
well, that's all right, we can burn you an effigy in absentia, because it's your last meeting.
Last meeting, we'll take care of you later.
All right.
Motion made and seconded to accept the minutes as dated and read. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's a vote. Minutes, we've gone the calendar. The calendar that I've sent out to you, it's primarily focused around our town meeting. One would be April 24th, and the one October 23rd or 4th are on the same frame. It's each time it's the 4th Monday in October and 4th Monday in April is our annual town meetings. And I just went backwards for that, for the dates for when everything was due, and our meetings around those time frames. We meet every Wednesday in this room primarily. The exception would be when we do the all-day, in where we interview each of the department heads and their proposal for their budgets.
So that's a weekday,
Pardon?
that's a weekday. that you're doing all
Yeah, be Tuesday morning, I think it's. What? Department head, right now is March 15th.
And that dates are tentative, it's just.
Yeah, it could subject to change.
Yeah. But that's basically what we do and how we run it. Rarely do we meet more than once a week. We tend to manage our schedule so that it's every Wednesday. We're here in this room. Sometimes we're live with Bob, sometimes we're on, you have to tune us in later. We accumulate as much paperwork as possible. As you can see, we were talking before we called the order. We had a 123-page Finance Committee report in the last town meeting. all the pertinent information that we receive frequently will show up within our report also. We are required by charter to make that report available 1 week before town meeting to the public. And it's online as well as available sometimes a library here in this building, et cetera. So that the townspeople have an opportunity to read most of the type of information that we review also. We at one time, prior to my tenure, prior to David's tenure, I think also, used to have a pre-town meeting. And it was very poorly attended towards the end there, so they just discontinued it. It was a lot of effort with a half a dozen people to show up. At this time,
Did it for years, though.
pardon?
Did it for years.
Indeed. There has been a lot of talk now of a 2.5 override. As I mentioned earlier, we are contemplating doing so, and that would probably occur at our April town meeting. Whether or not it would pass, I mean, anybody can say based on previous, it was a horrible loss in 2015. People may have changed their mind. It's going to be coming up against an inflationary period, recessionary period possibly also. But as I said, we have to ask sometime. And as Jody has pointed out, when the department heads were before us, they all admitted to being very shorthanded. But they are willing to sacrifice their time if somebody else needed something more than they did, and that gives an indication of the kind of people we have that are leading our departments. They're dedicated, and they're more than willing to talk to us. I mean, talk to us in the hall. I have a propensity for dropping in. I come in about once a week and catch up on things, and then my phone rings too. And so the finance committee, as a group, we're pretty well advised or aware of things that are going on. Again, we're a different part of the government. There's the executive session, or the executive branch, which is the selectmen, and Derek as town administrator, and then ourselves, we're on the legislative side. So we are charged with monitoring whatever town meeting does or passes in terms of the literal and then the spirit of those things, the warrant articles that are passed. And also all moneyed articles we review. By charter, we do review every article that comes up. It is our prerogative whether or not we can make a recommendation on it. Yes?
Mr. Chairman, can I suggest that the people you're talking to move to the table?
Well, we're gonna end up leaving now anyway.
Well, if anyone wants to speak, I would ask then, yes. Because we were talking prior to, and it wasn't necessary that be recorded, but once I called the meeting to order, he tries to pick it up on these microphones. They're all live. So
The potential candidates, if they'd like to move up to the table and make any comments they might like to.
as I said earlier, if you want to ask questions of something we did in the past, how we resolved it, what we considered, and some things you want in the future, by all means. And Paul, by all means also, you're welcome.
Or do we want to ask the candidates a little bit about themselves?
Indeed. Any one particular candidate you would like to ask some questions of?
Well, I thought if each one of them gave us a,
Synopsis of what they've done?
yes, maybe a 2 to 5 minute discussion of what they've done and why they might want to join the group. And maybe after this, they don't want to.
Folks,
How many openings?
share my
Of course, yeah.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Ladies first.
I knew you would. I expected that. My name is Julie Moran. I am a resident of Wareham. We have lived here about 2 years. Can you hear me?
No, it's that, using a chair, you okay?
I don't plan to speak.
Okay.
I'm a licensed attorney. I have practiced for more than 30 years in Boston and Waltham. I also a business owner. I started my own firm back in 2007, having worked for a large firm in Boston. I concentrate my practice in real estate, have spent a lot of time before many boards because I did a lot of Chapter 40B work in my time, did a lot of land use and zoning. I still do a lot of commercial work, residential work. In 2007, I joined with another partner, and we started a firm, and we really moved into regulatory compliance. We do a lot of work with all of the big banks. Again, still in commercial and residential real estate. My love is real estate, has always been, and that's where I have really grown my practice. We're in 10 states. We're also a 100% women-owned law firm. Not a lot of those in the area. I have been the managing partner both for my prior firm, Barron & Stedfeld, and for Orleans Moran, now Orleans. So have certainly as a business owner, have managed the revenue versus expenses versus how to grow the business, how do you manage all of that while working collaboratively with your team. I've also spent a lot of time on various boards. I am on the board of directors of the Massachusetts Real Estate Bar Association. I spent 20 years with Charles River Community Health Center, which is a very large nonprofit. I have worked with a number of different boards. I'm on the legislative committee for the National Association of Minority and Women-Owned Law Firms. So I have certainly, although I have not, I will be right up front. We spent 25 years, my husband and I, with our children in Concord, between children, careers, travel. While we were very active in the community, I have never served on a board such as this or a town or city board. But I feel that as a member of various philanthropic professional organizations, I understand the value of collaboration around interaction, listening with 2 ears versus talking, and trying to exercise judgment in every respect, honoring diverse opinions. We have, in every community, there are many opinions, very diverse, and the wonder of it is when you bring those diverse opinions together, that is where you have real progress. So I am very much a supporter of listening, working together, working collaboratively. I have attended every town meeting since we've arrived, have watched a community that I think has wonderful opportunities. Certainly there are some challenges, have been and will continue to be, but I feel that there is some wonderful things happening in Wareham, and I would very much be interested in being a part of that as a member of the Finance Committee.
Wonderful, thank you. Any questions? Dominic, Jerry?
Just welcome.
Thank you.
Question, you saw what happened tonight until we got our 5th member. Would you be able to make Wednesday night meetings?
I can. The only conflict I have is right now I am rotating off the Massachusetts Real Estate Bar Association board at the end of December. So we have one meeting on Wednesday nights. I'm in Boston, and if this meeting starts at 6:30, I think I could get here pretty much on time. So, given traffic from here to Boston to here, I don't know, but I'll try my best. But that's really my only conflict on Wednesday nights. And otherwise, I pretty much work remotely 1 day a week in our office in Waltham. So, I have.
But you indicated you were cycling off that requirement of Wednesday by the end of Wednesday, or to December?
Yes.
So you wouldn't have that conflict after that?
Correct. And I am slowly but surely moving towards retirement. Not there yet, have certainly reduced my hours, which is helpful. So I do expect within the next couple of years I will be fully retired. So all the more opportunity to help out in the community. So.
David, do you have any questions?
Oh, very good.
Jody?
Just come, you work for an all-women's law firm?
Yes,
Interesting.
still do, yes.
Yeah, I'd never heard it before. It's
Woman-owned and
women-owned.
100% women-owned, yes.
Nice.
It's unusual, yeah.
It's the first I've heard. I said,
Yeah.
interesting. Is there just one issue in the town that really tickles your fancy per se, brings your interest?
I'm excited about the redevelopment. I came from a town, Concord, where town meeting was how we made every decision, and I have been so impressed sitting at town meeting with the comments, folks who have worked very hard to bring warrant articles forward. So I really like the town meeting model, and I am excited. There is excitement that you feel when you're at the town meeting in Wareham. So I look forward to seeing what we can do in town to develop some of the businesses. I think we certainly could use more revenue, attract more businesses here. This is a wonderful community. There is so much to offer, and I feel a little bit that we're one of those hidden gems that I think word is starting to get out. The real estate market doesn't hurt, but people are looking, and I'm excited about it. So I think redevelopment, I think working to bring business in, I think we have opportunities here. So I'm excited about working towards that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And welcome.
Thank
While
you.
you were in Concord, did you happen to run across our moderator, Margaret?
Of course.
You did?
Yes. Great moderator. Yes.
Yes, interesting person, yes.
Yeah. No, a town meeting is a great model. Many towns, don't follow that anymore, but I think it's a wonderful opportunity. It's a great community opportunity to come together.
Well, it's unique to New England,
Correct.
and I take great pleasure in participating in it. It just seems that everybody gets together and does the right thing, ironically.
Somehow. And the other thing I will say as a real estate attorney, I'm always available to help study the law. What I haven't studied, I certainly am very willing to do the research. So my hope is that if I am accepted on the finance committee, I can certainly, as an attorney on the real estate side and municipal law, support the committee's efforts in that
They'll
regard.
make two. We have another attorney also.
Heard.
And Tom?
So my name is Tom Hannon. I'm a resident of, I live in Onset. Thank you for having me and inviting me here. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you guys and to see what the committee's like. As far as, I've lived in Onset full-time now for 10 years. 3 years ago, we actually took down our home and we built a new home here. We had Mark Hennison built it. It was fantastic. I grew up on Swift's Beach. We, our family, owned a home there for, I guess about 30 years. So I have a lot of roots here in Wareham. I've been on boards in town. I've been on the Onset Fire Department board, and we were able to actually come in under budget for that, which was pretty great. I'm on the golf committee board now. I've helped with the Buzzard Bay Coalition, Little Harbor, been to all the town meetings. We've been as vocal as I could be to really keep the town going in a progressive way. And career-wise, I've been pretty much a serial entrepreneur for my entire life. Over 30 years, I built and sold 12 businesses. Some of them were fairly significant size. I had over 100 employees at a couple of them when I sold them, mostly in distribution and advertising. And one of the things, I really like to direct a lot of the things that happen around town. And you had mentioned like diversity. So I had the great fortune of growing up in Cambridge, and diversity was a way of life there. It was a huge melting pot. There was no, everyone was different, and everyone was from a different culture, and you had to really learn, how to get along with tons and tons of different people who didn't speak the same language as you, or they came from a different family, or different religions and different things, and it helped you grow up through your life to sit in a committee where you have several people with different ideas and thoughts, and you could come up to and have a conversation to resolve your differences. So and that's pretty much what I've done, where I've been. I love the opportunity to be considered. I think that the finances of this town is definitely tight, and you need people who are gonna think about things, understand what's going on, and to be give a positive contribution to that.
Thank you. Do you have any questions, Dominic?
No, just that you realize if you do get on the finance committee, you can't be on any other committees.
Yeah, I'd have to resign from the golf committee.
And that would be the only one that, it's
Yeah,
town
odds
committees.
and five districts are different. You can still be on the 5 districts.
I was on the committee to help, to build the station.
It still doesn't matter, their district is
They're a
separate than the town.
separate entity.
Okay,
You can still be involved in that.
okay.
Jerry?
Same question. Any problems with Friday or Wednesday evenings?
No, Wednesdays are fine for me.
David? Oh, and Jody?
No?
Same question, is there any one issue in town? I mean, there's a lot of things we'd like changed in town, is there anything that really jumps out at you?
Not a specific thing, but the 2.5 is definitely something I've put a lot of thought into. I know it wouldn't be popular with the citizens of the town, but I definitely think it's something we need to consider because of where we are. You know, I know we're understaffed across the board, and when you come into town, there's not several people to wait on you for any particular thing. There's 1 or 2 people in every department, and I know it's a serious issue. So I would, you know, I'd be very interested in seeing how that plays itself out. I'm interested in also in what happens with the Deacon's property. You know, what is going to become of that? Will that become a, you know, police station, fire station? Will it become a, you know, some type of community center? That's definitely of interest as well.
Oh, thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Jim, how are you today, this evening?
I am well, gentlemen. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Good, good. Jim Manise, I've lived in town 40 years. I worked at Bridgewater State University for 40 years. Started on the grounds, worked my way up mid-level administrator, head of 3 different unions. I was elected as a select person. I served no other boards on that. I was not re-elected. So knowing the rules of being a committee member on the Finance Committee, I have not considered any other committee as of yet because I wouldn't want to do that and have to resign mid-range. I took some time and looked, you know, through the town bylaws related to the Finance Committee and the town charter, also Mass General laws, and was able to find the Mass Municipal Association Finance Committee handbook on another town's website. So I got through about 28 pages of that today. I don't mind reading that type of stuff. I got another, that's like 20% of the book. A lot of information, very interesting. I find the check and balance of the executive branch by the Finance Committee very important. And the review of all finances, a review of the budget as presented to the Board of Selectmen from the town administrator and then to the Finance Committee, a good process. And the process of going through it and the all-day meeting, the marathon meeting with the boards is something to be, it's a very interesting process, that in itself. That's like about 7 hours, 8 hours.
It's a while.
Yeah, I attended it this last time. I don't have a voice, but I wanted to see what was going on. Be a good opportunity for me to see the workings of the Finance Committee from the inside out and not the outside looking in. Specifically what materials you're presented to make your decisions on the finances of the budget. And weigh that. And then you were talking earlier about the signatory process of the new school building. And, you know, the bills are presented to the town's, was that Valley? And then there were 2 signatories from the school building committee. And that would be the town maintenance director and Jeff Sweat. Then it went over to the school department, in which Kimberly Shaver Hood signed it, and also the chair of the school committee. Then it would come to the selectmen to sign the warrants for actual release for payment. And as you were discussing, I questioned some of the expenditures for 40 baseball gloves and 40 softballs, and it was the same rationale in thinking, well, this is a 20-year obligation that we're going to be paying on this. Is there a better process? Was there anything that they could have brought over with them? I know it's peanuts in the overall look, perspective of how much is being spent, but those things catch my eyes, and paint machines, I questioned them, I'd write, say, what's this for? And they'd send the invoice over. So it just gave me a different perspective. And I know that you can't be on the other committees when you're on this committee, so I figured I'd put in an application to see if it could be appointed to this committee.
Any questions, Dominic?
No, I know Jimmy's record, he's good.
Jerry?
Been watching you for 3 years, no questions.
David?
No, Jim, glad you're willing to work for the town. Thank you.
Same question, is there anything right now, or are you just
Well,
looking at any one project going on in town? There's plenty going on in town
wow.
that really,
There's a lot going on, and
There's a lot
you
going
you
on.
try to look at it to be non-emotionally attached to it, and what would best benefit the town. So, and you try to do it on facts and not opinion. And there's a lot of one and oftentimes not a lot of the other. And, we're talking about the emergency services building. I've never seen the Prudential Committee make a commitment or a statement to wanting to investigate the idea of joining in on that. That would be very important to do, I would think, to make sure that they're all in on it. And so that's something that concerns me, because they're a separate district authority, as you said. And I would like to see if they are interested, and if they would take a vote on it, the Prudential Committee. I think that would be important to kind of focusing and fine-tuning what we want to do as a town. What do we want to do related to the EMS? Is it suited just for the town? Would it be more suited associated with the fire districts? Independent? So there's a lot of things to look
In the
at.
meeting, I'll call you back.
That's just the tip of the iceberg, I guess.
Well, the Prudential Committee did vote previously, and we're looking for another vote from them.
Yeah.
But thank you.
And the chief is a member of the committee.
Yes.
He was appointed as a citizen though, right?
I have no idea. It's not our area to get involved in.
So that's, I think that's an important thing to do, is to find out if they're on board or not. And if not, then focus on the town side of it. Because the
Okay.
finances come from different places.
That's a job for the committee, it's not our jurisdiction.
No, I'm just, he asked if they were,
Understood.
yeah.
Just a clarification.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
right, a couple things.
Let's not,
Don't rush it, Dominic.
never have trouble with that motion. I want to thank you, all three of you.
Thank you.
And Tom, if you're interested, you can go online with the selectmen, and it's not their usual, I can't think of what the title is, but they have an application, I believe you can fill it out online.
Do I find that in the same place where I did the, when I joined the golf committee?
You do it electronically? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm. Thank you again
Thank you
for
very
joining
much.
us this evening. If you have any further questions, by all means, feel free to call any one of us. Before we adjourn,
No, I want to catch everybody before they leave.
okay, the meet and greet we were going to have this evening, Kevin, the chairman, is coming back from Indiana from a wedding. So he wasn't sure he would be back for this. And Matt DeAndre, who's the superintendent, said he couldn't get off the island. And he told me that several days ago, so it must be a scheduling issue for him. And the new business manager, she was available, but I didn't think it fair for her to bring her over all by herself.
All by herself.
Without the super and the the chairman, Kevin.
Oh, it would be good to meet the
Yeah.
Well, I
school department and,
Yeah, I felt it appropriate, we're still friends,
yes, right,
and they were all very enthusiastic about it.
very good.
They were. And anything else?
I just want to bring up a couple of things. You know, it was kind of mentioned a little bit. I don't know if anybody watched the sewer commissioners meeting last week. They're in big trouble. They need a lot of money. And my point being, you know, I've looked at these things, and this town's really at kind of a crossroads of where we're gonna go. I know they need the 2.5 ride for operational purposes, and if you asked me this last year, I would have probably been fully on board. But then we got a police station or a public safety complex, call it what you want. The sewer commissioners, I felt bad for the director, because he got kind of yelled at last week because of the rates that are gonna have to go up. How are you gonna pay for this? We got the Deacon School and operational. There's 4 or 5 big, to me, big ticketed items that are gonna come out in the next year, maybe year and a half. And, you know, as a board here, we gotta be ready to look at these and address these things, and as a town.
As a town.
Yes, indeed,
as a
of course.
town.
You know, but, you know, I just, I know when I first got on, when we took the little tour of the different buildings and the 2 big things, and I still remember walking the sewer department, the building over there, saying they need about $100 million. The number that came out last Thursday night was 120 million. They kind of kicked the can down the road for a number of years. They told them in 2002 they're going to meet capacity in 22, and they were close. And if they don't do something, as you know, the next level up, it can come in and tell them you don't have a choice, and then the town's really in trouble. So
Right.
there's a lot of items this town, financial items.
It's unfortunate they're all coming due at the same time.
And that's my whole point, you know, I mean, you know, and right now we're in an economy where, I mean, we'd probably get booed out of a room if we ever asked them for much money now, and rightly so. You know, I mean, everybody's got, you know, their own situations, but at some point,
You know, when you think back on it, when we have built the schools, when we built the sewer plant, that occurred all within the same short period of time. Schools were 60-some-odd years old. The plant was built in 270, I think in 1970 for the water, the sewer. And so it's 50 years old. And everything about it is 50 years old. It was upgraded late 90s, early 2000s sometime, I think. And so now it needs more. It's aged horribly, and the moratorium is on now, and I don't believe there's any option of it coming off, because we are now, we're
they're talking
supposed
4 to 5 years.
Yeah, we're supposed to be less than 1.8 million gallons a day processing, and we are consistently at 1.8 and over. And that's when the federal government steps in and say, no, or you have to spend money.
But the groundwater from Swifts is supposed to, if it does what they say, it's gonna stop a lot of it.
Yes, indeed.
So, we hope, but that's what they're saying,
It should.
because how, with this moratorium, when they need money, they want money, and you know how I feel about how, you know, only 50-some% of the town is paying the sewer bill. I think everyone should kick into the sewer bill because it benefits the town. So, you know, I've told them a million times before, they should have a base. I'm only guessing numbers, you guys don't, like say everyone in the town pays $100. And the sewer users, you know, pay more. But the people who aren't on sewerage are benefiting from the sewer plant because of the businesses that are here, because of everything that's here. and they're getting off scot-free. And I've been ranting and raving about this for 10 years, and you guys know it. So they're looking for money, but they're looking for money out of the same damn pocket. There is another pocket they can reach in, and they're not doing it. Makes absolutely no sense. No sense.
That was brought up at their meeting last week. I don't know if anybody else
It's been
watched
brought up.
it.
It's been brought up a billion times.
Right, I understand all that, but when they threw real numbers out there, they had a consultant there, if they get a 0% loan, this is what it's gonna cost the, people that have sewerage, and I know it's a little over 50%. But right now, I mean, and I understand what you're saying, I went to town where I moved from, went through that, they thought the whole town, because it benefited a big industrial place, and it got blown right out of the water. There's no way anybody in town was gonna pay for sewage to be put in.
I think it's a court case too. We'll have to look that up and be sure.
That and
It's
they're
getting
still-
done now.
And they're still on the EDU system.
Oh my
Yeah, oh,
gosh.
Three towns in all of Massachusetts are still on the EDU. It's so freaking archaic, excuse my language, that the sewer department needs somebody to go in there and do their finances better. Because they're doing a lousy job, they've been doing a lousy job, and there's just so much money out there that they could actually get if someone put the brain power to do it. Then I'll
I never
leave it at
received an
that.
adequate explanation as why they still use EDU. Why can't they use the information?
Because, I'm gonna tell you why, Bernie. They're too damn lazy to change the system, period, the end, and I'll go on record in saying it. Okay? Sorry, Bob.
Has it ever been officially requested for the water meter readings from the two districts?
It's been brought up a
No,
billion
has it ever
times, yeah.
been requested officially? So
I
that it's
presume
in
it has.
writing, So that you
I-
can see and then get an answer,
Yeah.
or go in front of a board to get an answer, yes or no, and, there's steps in the process, and who oversees the finances for the municipal wastewater? The town administrator, correct? Plus, we've hired, I think, a person on a part-time basis, used to be, work over in Warren as a town
He's not here
manager.
anymore.
Oh, he's gone?
He was on
but
short term.
He was doing some of the procurement stuff over there, so.
To me, there's a lot of finger pointing going on.
Yeah. The ratepayers went up an average of $100 for their bill.
Now, should I say something else to get everyone all riled up again? Bourne, that we sub out some of our wastewater still comes from Bourne,
Yeah.
pays less per gallon than the people of Wareham. Does that make any sense? They should be paying more. They're using our facility and paying less,
Yeah.
okay?
And another byproduct of doing it by usage, and, I was on MWRA before I moved to Wareham, and when they first hooked up to it, we paid twice what our water bill was. So if you paid a $100 water bill, you figure your sewage, when I left, it was about 3 times. But the little byproduct of all that is, I use less water. I wouldn't allow my kids to wash their cars in the driveway. I never watered my lawn.
I understand
Okay,
that,
we-
and that's where the EDU system comes in.
Yep.
My dad's 92, lives here all by himself, pays the same as the guy next door with 4 daughters who shower 3 times a day, and look at the water they use that goes down the wastewater. They're paying the same amount of money in the EDU system. Wrong.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Don't get me going. Don't get me started.
Have a second.
Adjourn.
Have a second.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
All those in favor
All those in
say
favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, gentlemen. Have a nice summer.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, David.